What if the men trained to confront the darkest sides of humanity found themselves facing something they couldn't explain? A soldier armed with a rifle, a police officer holding a badge, both standing before a chilling unknown. This is not fiction. These are disturbing, unsolved accounts buried in real evidence and eyewitness reports. In 1959, deep in the Soviet Union, 9 experienced hikers vanished in what became known as the Dyatlov Pass incident. When Soviet soldiers arrived, they found tents ripped open from the inside, bodies scattered in the snow, and evidence of sheer terror. Military investigators called it inexplicable, leaving a chilling mark on criminal and psychological records. For decades, soldiers who searched the pass whispered of strange lights in the sky and eerie sounds echoing across the mountains. The case remains one of Russia's most disturbing, unsolved mysteries. To this day, no criminal mind has been linked to the tragedy, only the shadow of a hidden truth. But it wasn't just Russia. Across the ocean in Vietnam, American soldiers reported encounters so disturbing that official files remain classified. Men spoke of voices in the jungle, movement in the trees, and shadows recorded on real footage that seemed impossible to explain. Psychological evaluations later revealed an unnerving detail. The soldiers weren't hallucinating, they were reporting the same things across different platoons with chilling consistency. The evidence suggests a disturbing, unsolved pattern that military leaders quietly buried. Police officers have faced the same darkness closer to home. In 1980, in El Paso, Texas, officers responded to a call about a disturbance in an abandoned building. What they found inside would haunt them for the rest of their careers. According to official reports, the officers entered expecting squatters or criminals. Instead, they described hearing footsteps circling them in the empty halls, doors slamming shut, and voices calling their names. Every attempt to capture evidence failed. The radios cut out. The tape recorders went silent. The officers swore under oath they felt something brush against them, cold and deliberate. One officer resigned within weeks, unable to face another night patrol. For decades, whispers in El Paso law enforcement referred to that case as the night the badge was powerless. Even modern-day police body cams have captured unexplained footage. In 2019, Utah officers investigating a crash heard screams coming from a submerged car. But when divers reached the wreckage, they found the driver had been dead for hours long before the rescue team arrived. 4 officers gave sworn testimony that they all heard the same desperate voice calling for help. Yet, official evidence confirmed no one could have survived. What were they hearing? And why does law enforcement worldwide continue to record chilling encounters no criminal mind can explain? In 1972, the U.S. Army investigated strange events at Fort Benning, Georgia. Hundreds of soldiers claimed to see lights hovering over the base during a live-fire exercise. Men collapsed without warning, reporting paralysis and blinding headaches. Yet no physical evidence was ever found. Official documents refer to it only as an incident, but decades later, veterans broke their silence, describing the night as the most terrifying moment of their lives. The military has never released a full account, leaving the hidden truth buried in classified files. In Mexico City, police were sent to a crime scene in 2006 after neighbors reported disturbing screams from an abandoned hospital. Officers documented hearing children crying, though no children were present. One officer's bodycam recorded faint whispers in Spanish, asking for help. The officers later discovered the hospital had once housed victims of cartel violence. Some had vanished without trace, their names erased from official records. For investigators, the sounds that night felt less like haunting and more like echoes of hidden crimes. During World War II, soldiers on both Allied and Axis sides told eerily similar stories. They reported seeing figures moving silently across no man's land, untouched by bullets and vanishing without a trace. The psychological toll on these men was devastating, recorded in wartime diaries still studied by historians. Even hardened veterans admitted the encounters shook them more than combat itself. Some described it as if the battlefield carried the weight of every death that had occurred before. No military strategy could explain what their eyes had witnessed. In 1994, a British soldier stationed in Bosnia reported being followed by footsteps in a bombed-out village. When he turned, there was no one there, only the sound of boots crunching behind him. His patrol confirmed they heard it too, and fled the area in panic. Later, investigations revealed the village had been the site of a mass execution. The bodies had never been recovered, leaving the land forever scarred. To this day, soldiers refer to it as the place where the dead march. Police archives are filled with equally disturbing testimony. In Chicago, multiple officers patrolling abandoned housing projects in the 1990s reported hearing gunfire and screams from empty hallways. Every time they entered, the sound stopped, leaving nothing but silence. The strange reports coincided with years of unsolved disappearances linked to gang activity in the same area. For investigators, it raised a disturbing question. Were the officers experiencing echoes of crimes never solved? In 2001, New York police officers working near Ground Zero reported a wave of disturbing calls. They claimed to hear voices crying out from beneath the rubble long after rescue efforts had ended. Psychological assessments later confirmed the officers were stable, yet their sworn testimony was eerily consistent. Some officers described the voices as simply repeating names. Rescue teams dug only to find no living survivors. The incident was quietly dismissed, but the haunting reports still circulate among first responders. In 1978, at an abandoned U.S. Army hospital in Germany, soldiers on night guard duty experienced something equally chilling. They swore they saw stretchers rolling across empty hallways by themselves. Logs written by military police confirm that several guards refused further assignments in that sector. The hospital had been used during World War II, where thousands of wounded soldiers died. Many of their names never made it into official records. Veterans say the building was less a post stand, more a graveyard. Closer to the present in 2015. Colombian soldiers patrolling rural jungles encountered what they described as phantom camps. They saw lanterns burning, voices speaking, and movement in the tree shed. When they advanced, the camps vanished without trace. No evidence was found, not even footprints in the mud. Military intelligence considered the reports a possible psychological tactic by guerrilla groups. But the soldiers maintained it was something else entirely. They said it felt as if they were walking through a battlefield already lived. Police archives in New Orleans tell another disturbing story. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, officers documented encounters inside flooded homes. They reported hearing babies crying upstairs, only to find empty rooms. One officer admitted he thought he was losing his mind till his partner heard the exact same thing. The case was marked as stress-induced trauma, yet no explanation was ever given for the overlapping accounts. For many officers, that was the night the line between evidence and the inexplicable blurred forever. Even in modern warfare, chilling testimony persists. In Afghanistan, U.S. troops stationed in remote outposts described hearing footsteps circling their bases at night. Thermal cameras recorded nothing, only the sound of boots echoing in the dust. Soldiers swore the sounds matched disciplined marching, as if an unseen patrol was closing in. But every search turned up empty terrain. The chilling question remains: what was haunting the most armed and alert men on Earth? In 1967, U.S. Air Force security teams at Minute Air Force Base reported something terrifying. An object hovered silently above nuclear missile silos, disabling entire weapon systems in seconds. Guards described a blinding light, followed by a silence so deep it was disorienting. The official report was buried under layers of classification. But the men involved spoke years later, visibly shaken even in old age. Their haunting testimony raised questions about what was watching the most secure weapons on Earth. Police officers in London faced their own nightmare in 1999 while investigating a break-in at an old theater. They reported hearing applause echoing from an empty stage. When they checked security tapes, the sound was captured, but no people were seen. The theater had once been the site of a deadly fire that claimed dozens of lives. No criminal mind was involved, yet the echoes remained, like scars refusing to heal. The case was quietly filed away, never spoken of in public again. In Iraq, U.S. Marines occupying Saddam Hussein's palaces reported sleepless nights filled with strange whispers. They described shadows moving against walls, doors slamming shut, and sudden chills sweeping entire rooms. Even the toughest men admitted it was worse than combat. One Marine said, "We were trained to fight men, not whatever was in those halls." Some soldiers refused to sleep indoors, choosing instead to camp outside in the desert. The reports were dismissed as stress, but the records remain in military archives. In 1986, police in Manila documented a series of disturbing calls to the same high-rise apartment. Tenants repeatedly reported seeing figures at their doors that vanished when approached. Officers eventually admitted they too saw the same thing, yet no suspects were ever found. Forensic teams later discovered the building was constructed over a wartime mass grave. The bodies had never been moved, and the tenants swore the figures resembled soldiers in uniforms from decades before. Across continents, across generations, these accounts repeat with chilling similarity. Police and soldiers, the people trained to confront danger, left shaken by encounters no evidence could explain. What happens when those sworn to protect us admit they cannot even protect themselves? The deeper you dig, the darker the truth becomes. Unsolved cases, disturbing testimony, evidence that refuses to vanish. And one haunting question remains: are these encounters warnings from history or proof that some battles never end?